She was shackled in court, her hands and feet bound like a criminal, though the truth was far more complicated. No one expected help, especially not from a man wearing 4 stars on his uniform. What brought a high-ranking general into a courtroom where injustice ruled? This wasn't just about one woman's fight. It was a powerful clash between power, prejudice, and the courage to break chains. What happened next would challenge everything the world thought it knew about justice. This is her story, and it's one that demands to be heard. Under the harsh fluorescent lights of the courtroom, Sarah sat quietly, her hands shackled, her spirit bruised but unbroken. A devoted mother and community volunteer, she had always been the kind of woman who believed in fairness and justice. Her days were filled with simple routines, working at the local library, caring for her children, and dreaming of a better future. But one fateful morning, everything changed. An accusation, swift and unyielding, turned her world upside down. No trial, no chance to explain, just a system ready to judge before hearing her side. As the courtroom doors closed behind her, Sarah had no idea that an unlikely ally was about to step into her life and shake the very foundation of justice. Sarah's world had never been simple, but the courtroom was a different kind of battlefield. The moment she was shackled, her heart sank, not because of the physical chains, but because of what they represented, a system ready to condemn her without a fair fight. The charges were vague, the evidence thin, yet the judgment felt certain. Whispers circled around her, assumptions rooted not in facts, but in prejudice. She watched as the judge's gaze lingered longer than necessary, as the prosecutor spoke with a cold certainty that chilled her to the bone. No one asked about her children, her community work, or the years she'd spent trying to build a better life. Instead, she became a symbol, a convenient target for a justice system that often saw her not as a person, but as a stereotype. Hours dragged on, the courtroom thick with tension. Sarah's attorney was young and inexperienced, clearly overwhelmed by the weight of the case and the power against them. Every objection was overruled, every plea ignored. The chains on her wrists felt heavier with each passing minute, as if the room itself was closing in. Outside the courtroom, the air was no less hostile. Reporters with flashing cameras, murmurs from passers-by, the sting of being publicly judged before a verdict was even reached. Sarah's dignity was stripped away piece by piece. Fear not at her. Fear not just for herself, but for the family depending on her strength. Then, in the middle of this crushing despair, the courtroom doors opened, and a figure walked in, one no one expected. A 4-star general, a man of immense authority and respect, stepped into the space, his presence commanding silence. Whispers spread like wildfire. Why was a military leader here? What could he possibly do in a civilian courtroom weighed down by racial bias? The general approached the bench, his voice steady but urgent. He spoke of honor, justice, and the very principles the nation claimed to uphold. His words cut through the tension, shining a light on the cracks in the system that threatened to consume Sarah. For the first time, someone powerful acknowledged the injustice, challenging the narrative that had already been written. But power has its limits. The courtroom was not an easy place to change, and the battle was far from over. As the general's intervention forced a pause, Sarah's fate hung in the balance, caught between a world eager to see her fall and a rare ally willing to stand against the tide. Would this moment be enough to break the chains, both literal and figurative, that bound her? Or was it merely a brief spark in a night too dark to escape? The answers were still waiting behind those courtroom doors. The courtroom fell into a heavy silence as the judge prepared to deliver the ruling. Sarah's heart pounded fiercely, each beat echoing the weight of a lifetime of fear and hope. The shackles on her wrists felt like iron anchors, dragging her down as the room waited with bated breath. This was the moment her life would be forever altered, a moment where justice could either prevail or be swallowed by prejudice. The prosecutor's words rang out sharply, painting Sarah as guilty before the truth was even fully considered. The faces in the courtroom blurred into a sea of judgment, their eyes filled with assumptions and silent accusations. She was no longer just a person. She was a symbol of everything the system sought to control and suppress. Then, The general rose, his voice steady but filled with unshakable conviction. He spoke not only of Sarah's innocence, but of the greater injustice at play, the centuries of bias, discrimination, and systemic racism that poisoned the very idea of fairness. His words cut through the courtroom like a thunderclap, forcing everyone to confront what they had long ignored. For a fleeting moment, hope ignited. But as the judge's gavel struck, it wasn't a declaration of freedom. Instead, the sentence was harsher than anyone anticipated, a brutal reminder that power and prejudice often go hand in hand. Sarah's world shattered. The chains around her wrists were physical, but the chains around her future felt far heavier. Yet, amid the despair, the general's unwavering gaze met hers, a silent promise that her fight was not over. This was not just Sarah's battle anymore. It was a call to wake the world to the deep wounds of injustice. Would her story end in silence? Or would it become the spark that finally ignited change? The answer hung in the air, waiting to be written. Sarah's shackles were eventually removed, but the scars left by that day remained etched deep within her soul. Though the courtroom's decision was unjust, the arrival of the four-star general had ignited a fire, a beacon of hope that no system, no matter how entrenched in prejudice, is beyond challenge. Her story spread beyond those cold walls, sparking conversations about the harsh realities many face simply because of the color of their skin. This wasn't just Sarah's fight. It was a reflection of a larger truth. Across the nation, countless others experienced similar chains, both visible and invisible, shaped by bias, discrimination, and systemic racism. The courage of one unexpected ally shone a light on the darkness, proving that even the smallest acts of bravery can ripple into movements of change. But change demands more than words. It requires action. Sarah's experience asks us all, how long will we allow injustice to go unchallenged? How many more voices must be silenced before the world truly listens? Her story is a call to stand up, speak out, and break the chains that still bind so many. It's a reminder that justice isn't just a word. It's a responsibility we all share. If this story moved you, if it opened your eyes or touched your heart, share it. Talk about it. And subscribe to be part of a community dedicated to uncovering truths that demand to be heard. Because real change begins when we refuse to stay silent. What will you do next?